Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh. So welcome back everyone. We're continuing on from Pauri 25. So last time we talked about grace and seeing the world, seeing the universe and seeing every moment as a divine gift. Guruji started that verse, Bahta karam likhya na jaye. There is so much grace, what can anyone write about it? Vadda data tilna tamaye. Such a grand master, such a great provider doesn't ask anything back for itself. Kete mange jod apar. How many countless warriors are begging? And it talks about Kete mange jod apar, ketyan ganit nahi vichar. There are so many that they become uncountable. Their counting cannot be contemplated. So Guruji is using this idea of this abundant grace. But then he talks about the people who aren't aware of this grace. Kete kap tutte vekar. So many people who are unaware of this grace are squabbling and worrying about unimportant things, these trivial things that we worry about. And by doing so, tutte vikar, they are breaking their connection with vikar, with things that are useless, things that are going to be temporary, things that are not going to go with them. Kete lale mukar pahe. So some people continue to consume and enjoy the benefits of these gifts that are being given out to them, but they're ungrateful. Kete murak khahi khaye. Uncountable, numerous fools who continue to consume and consume. So Guruji carries on. Not only are there ungrateful people, not only are there people squabbling and breaking their connection, not only are there fools who continue to consume, Guruji says, Ketya dukh pukh sadmar. Ketya means so many that this is happening to. To so many. Dukh, the word comes up in Gurbani, is slightly different to dukh. Gurbani talks about dukh and pukh and sukh, and then Guruji talks about dukh, which is very deep sorrow. And here it's a plural word. So many people are in a deep sorrow and deep hunger, dukh and pukh. And the hunger isn't necessarily just physical. It's desires, it's being deeply unfulfilled in life. Ketya dukh pukh sadmar. Constantly being beaten, constantly being challenged in life. So if we were to translate this line, we would say, to so many inflicted with sufferings, with hungers and constant beatings. Ketya dukh pukh sadmar. So some people live a life of constant suffering, of poverty. Some are well off materially, but still they're struggling. They're still suffering. They're still hungry in life for something. There is a saying that says, I feel sorry for some people who are so poor that all they have is money. I feel sorry for those people who are so poor because all they have is money. And this is starting to challenge our notion of what do we think it means to be rich. So there are people who are materially rich, but still it is as though life is constantly a struggle for them. Life is beating them down. So this is the kind of people being referenced here. Ketya And there are so many ketiyan, kayanu, ketiya means kayanu, to so many who are struggling in life. Guruji says something very interesting here. Ketiya dukh puk sadmar e bhi daat teri Dataar. E bhi, these even, daat teri, gifts of yours, Dataar, O giver. So I just want to go a little bit into the spelling of some of the words that we see in this second line, E bhi daat teri Dataar. The first word that we look at is this word daat. With the sihari, you may be able to guess that the word is a feminine word. And the way we know that it's a feminine word is because in the line we say, E bhi daat teri, teri daat. We don't say tera daat, it's teri daat. So even though the word for the giver is a masculine word, Dataar is a masculine word, we don't say tera, because what we're referencing is not the person, not the being, but the gifts. So we say teri daat. So that's the reason why we have a sihari there, because it's a feminine word. Interestingly, the word Dataar, which means giver, should have an aunkar underneath it, because as we know, it's a masculine word. There's only one Dataar, it's a singular word. But in this line, Dataar is mukta, is missing the aunkar underneath. So we come across the word Dataar now with two spellings. The first is a noun which has an aunkar. It's the name of something. The second has the same meaning. But one of the other reasons why we take away an aunkar, we've talked about the first reason, which is that if you take a singular word, which is supposed to have an aunkar at the end, and you want to make it plural, you take the aunkar away. But in this particular case, there aren't many providers. Because we've already heard, Gura ek deh bujai, sabna jiyan ka ek data. There is only one giver of all beings. So we know that this isn't now a plural word. We're not talking about many givers. So what is the reason why this word shouldn't have an aunkar? When we are talking about someone, like a Dataar, the giver, then we would use this here. So we could say this first version means the giver, the noun. When we are talking to that giver, that's when we take the aunkar away. So here we would translate that as, O giver. We are talking directly to the giver. So this is how when you read Gurbani, you can tell the difference in the spelling as to how to translate this Bani. If you see in a translation that it says the giver here is giving all these gifts, then they haven't understood these grammatical rules, because the giver has to be spelt with an aunkar. So here it doesn't have an aunkar, and we know the word should. We're saying, O giver, these even are your gifts. E bhi daat teri Dataar. O giver, O provider, I see these as your gifts. In English grammar, we would call this a vocative case. And what it means is when you're talking directly to someone. So an example would be, if we take a person called John. If we say, I don't know John, that can have two meanings. Either we're talking about John, and we can say, I don't know John, or we're talking to John, like he's asked us a question, and you're saying, John, I don't know. I don't know, John. I don't know the answer to your question. You're talking to John. So that in Gurmukhi has been given two different spellings, so you know very clearly which is being referenced. The first is to reference the noun, to say, I don't know a person called John. The second is saying, I don't know John, I'm talking directly to John. E bhi daat teri Dataar. Now, the other word that I want to bring your attention to is this word e. Let's look at the spelling here again. There are three ways to spell this word. The word that we see in this line is the first example. This is the plural version of this word. So, e in normal Punjabi means this. When you have a plural of this word, it means these. These things. So rather than this is your gift, if you see that in your translation, that even this is your gift, then they should be using a different spelling of e. When we say e with a sihari, it means the plural version of this word, these. But you also see e, which means this, with an aunkar, and e without an aunkar. Now, certain words in English, Gurmukhi, in most languages, are linked to another word. This is an example of that word. The word this on its own has no meaning. If I said apple, you know I'm talking about an apple. If I say this, I have to be talking about something. This apple, this chair, this table. And so that is where you have in Gurmukhi two different spellings. Where you are referencing a masculine object, you use the masculine version of this word. Where you're referencing a feminine object, then e also takes on. So here, rather than sihari being the feminine version, the mukta is the feminine version. So this referencing feminine objects is spelt without the aunkar, and this e referencing masculine objects. Now, we talk about pronunciation. We talked about pronunciation before, where we said that there are generally two schools of thought. One is that you pronounce every vowel, every consonant, and every sound to make it very clear what you're talking about. So some people who believe in that way would say eho. They would pronounce the aunkar. The other school of thought says that the vowels are purely grammatical. They are for you to interpret the Bani, but the word is e. So when you see a vowel at the end of a letter, generally it's for the grammar purposes. So according to that school of thought, all three words would be pronounced exactly the same. E, e, e. But if you were to take the other school of thought, then each one you pronounce the vowel. You pronounce the slight sihari, e, eho, and ehe. There's a slight difference in all of them. But in either case, whether you pronounce it or you don't pronounce it, you still have to appreciate what the reasons are for the spellings of these vowels and the spellings of these words. So let's go back to the meaning of the Shabad. Ketya dukh pukh sadmar, e bhi daat teri Dataar. So many are inflicted with suffering, with deep hungers, with constant beatings. Even these are your gifts, O giver. There are a few ways that we can interpret this line. Either Guruji can be talking about all the lines that he's mentioned so far in the verse, Kete lele mukkar pahe, kete murk khahi khahe, ketyan dukh puk sadmar, all of these, bi daat teri Dataar, that even if we see the world as a constant giving, as a continuous parade of gifts that the universe is giving, then the fools are also a gift to the world. The muraks are also a gift to the world. The selfish are also a gift to the world. They're also something that we have to just appreciate in that same line of thinking that we talked about, where everything is grace. Even the ones suffering, they are also a gift to the world. Even suffering and pleasure is all a gift to the world. Because remember, the beginning of this line is Bahta karam likhya na jaye. Everything is grace. Uncountable grace, infinite grace. There is another way to interpret this line, Ketya dukh puk sadmar, that so many are struggling with suffering, with pain, with hunger, but to the Gurmukh, bi daat teri Dataar, that the one who is able to see past it, he's able to recognize this as gifts. For the Gurmukh, they remain unaffected by their external circumstances. So the Gursikh sees everything as a gift, even suffering as a gift, even hunger, loss, what we would call beatings in life, where life is beating you down. The Gursikh is able to see past it and just recognize it for what it is. So that's the other way of interpreting it. The third and most common way of interpreting this line is that suffering and longing are gifts. So not to the Gursikh, but to everyone, these are gifts. So remember, the first way of interpreting is that the people affected by these things, they are a gift to the world. The second way of interpreting is that these are situations in the world, but only the Gursikh sees them as a gift. The third way is that in fact, suffering is a gift for everyone. Hunger is a gift for everyone. And this is by far the most common interpretation that you will see.